But despite the uncertainty, their strength remains their bond. They refuse to let fear control them. Claire's knowledge gives them guidance, Jamie's courage gives them direction. And together, they try to hold their timeline steady. Yet even they cannot outrun fate forever. Season 8 hints that their path is heading toward a moment where the past and future collide in Brianna's. Prophecy might be the only warning they receive before that collision becomes irreversible. Claire and Jamie do not yet understand the threat moving toward them, but the clues are already in place. Their timeline is bending, and the reason lies in a mystery waiting to reveal itself in both centuries. The question haunting their final journey is simple but terrifying. Can love survive when the timeline itself is being rewritten? Every story in Outlander carries danger, but Season 8 hints at a threat unlike anything the characters have faced before. It isn't an army, or a plague, or a single villain with a clear motive. Instead, it feels like a shadow that grows larger with every timeline shift, a presence moving quietly between centuries, leaving chaos behind but never showing its face. This is the mystery that Brianna's prophecy tries to warn her about, and it's the danger that slowly tightens around Claire and Jamie without them even knowing. The first clue comes in the form of coincidences that don't add up. A stranger who knows too much, a fire that starts in a way that doesn't match the era, a message written in ink that shouldn't exist yet. These moments seem small on their own, but together they form a pattern only a time traveler could create. Season 8 leans into this idea. Someone is using time travel not for survival, but for control. They aren't just passing through history, they're changing it. This mysterious force doesn't attack openly. It works quietly, slipping into the gaps between events. Small choices are pushed in the wrong direction. Important people appear at the wrong place in time. And slowly, the world Claire and Jamie know begins to twist. Even the history Claire remembers becomes unreliable, as if pages of time are being rewritten while she's still reading them. Jamie senses the danger through instinct moments when the air feels wrong, when he feels watched even in an empty field. He cannot explain it, but something inside him knows the threat is coming closer. Meanwhile, in the future, the signs are clearer. Machines malfunction for no reason. Locations connected to the stones experience strange surges. Brianna hears the low hum of time grow louder, almost as if the stones are warning her about what's approaching. She begins to suspect that her prophecy isn't a vision of something that might happen. It's a glimpse of something already happening in Jamie and Claire's timeline. Someone is tearing open the path between past and future, and the ripples are reaching all the way to her present. What makes the threat so chilling is its intent. This is not someone trying to fix a mistake or correct a tragedy. This is someone who wants to reshape the timeline for their own purposes. Their identity remains hidden, but their intentions are woven into every disruption. Brianna realizes that this shadow is the reason her prophecy exists. Her mind caught a fracture in time a crack caused. By someone forcing 2 centuries to collide, Season 8 builds suspense around this silent enemy. The danger grows quietly, dangerously, and without a name. It is a puzzle made of missing pieces, scattered across 2 eras. And as the characters move closer to the truth, one thing becomes clear. This threat is not coming. It's already here. And the final confrontation will decide not only who survives, but which version of history will remain standing. Time travel has always been the secret heartbeat of Outlander. But Season 8 pushes it into new territory, into a place where the rules begin to break, and the timeline starts behaving like a living thing trying to correct itself. Everything Brianna sees in her prophecy, everything Claire senses in the shifting revolution, and everything Roger feels in the stones leads to one terrifying possibility. A major paradox is forming, and their family is standing right in the center of it. This theory begins with a simple but unsettling question. What if someone has traveled too many times, and the stones are responding? In the Outlander universe, the more a traveler moves through time, the more the timeline begins to warp around them. Memories fade, events shift, outcomes blur. Claire, Jamie, Brianna, Roger, all of them have shaped history in ways the stones never expected. Their actions saved lives, changed battles, and altered the paths of countless people. But every correction in the past creates a disturbance in the future, and those disturbances may finally be reaching a breaking point. The theory grows darker when Brianna connects her prophecy to something Roger mentioned long ago, the idea that time is not linear, but circular. If the timeline is a loop, then certain events are destined to repeat until the paradox is resolved. And the vision Brianna received a moment of destruction. A warning drenched in fear might be a glimpse of a loop closing in on itself. Someone's actions, somewhere in history, have created a ripple so strong that it's traveling both backward and forward through time at the same moment. Season 8 hints that this paradox might force one final jump no one planned for. One that could bring Claire and Jamie into the future, or drag Brianna and Roger unexpectedly into the past. If the timeline is trying to heal itself, it may push the family toward a moment where the centuries collide in a single point. This is why Brianna's prophecy feels like a warning. She isn't just seeing a future event, she's seeing the timeline preparing to snap back into shape. Jamie's fate becomes especially tied to this theory. There have always been whispers in the story about whether he is meant to exist beyond his century. Claire's love for him changed history. Her medical skills saved him from death more than once. If the timeline is trying to balance itself, it may try to correct the fact that he lived. When history said he shouldn't, this idea becomes a shadow hanging over every decision Claire makes. Not because she doubts her love, but because she fears the cost the timeline might demand in return. But the paradox doesn't only threaten the past, it threatens the future too. The MacKenzie children, with their overwhelming connection to the stones, might become the key to stabilizing the timeline, or the reason it collapses. If someone is manipulating time for their own purpose, the paradox will grow stronger until every path leads to one unavoidable moment. Season 8 sets the stage for this final theory. Time itself is becoming unstable, pushing the characters toward a crossroads where one final choice will determine whether the timeline continues or breaks forever. Season 8 is more than just the end of a long story. The closing of a circle that has been forming since the moment Claire first stepped through the stones. Every prophecy, every warning, every shift in the timeline has been pointing the characters toward one final choice. And in this last chapter, each member of the Fraser MacKenzie family must face a truth they can no longer avoid. Time will not let them walk away unchanged. For Claire and Jamie, the endgame begins with understanding the threat that has been chasing them from the shadows. War, betrayal, and heartbreak have shaped their lives. But now they are forced to confront something far more powerful, somewhere, trying to control the outcome of history itself. Every strange event in their timeline, every suspicious detail, every person who arrived at the wrong moment now fits together like pieces of a puzzle they never asked to solve. They realize they are not only fighting for survival, but for the right to own their story. Their love, forged across centuries, stands in direct defiance of the timeline's attempt to bend them into place. In the future, Brianna and Roger feel the consequences of every shift, every ripple. The stones hum louder. The visions sharpen. Their children begin reacting to moments that haven't happened yet, as if the future and the past are pulling against each other. Brianna recognizes the prophecy for what it really is, not a prediction, but a crossroads. A warning that one timeline will survive and the other will fall apart. Her family stands at the intersection of both. This builds toward the moment when the family realizes the truth. Someone must travel one last time, not for escape, but for balance. To prevent the paradox from collapsing history. To stop the unseen traveler who has been bending events toward disaster. To protect the people who should live and the ones who were meant to be remembered. But the stones demand a price, and this final journey will take something from them: time, memories, or even someone they love. Jamie faces the heaviest burden. His life is the one most altered by Claire's presence. His survival rewrote destiny, and his love became the thread tying 2 centuries together. The question that has hovered over the story for years becomes impossible to ignore. Can Jamie exist outside of his century without tearing the timeline apart? Claire must face her deepest fear, not losing Jamie to war or illness, but losing him because time itself demands balance. Roger understands that if the timeline is going to heal, someone must guide it. His role as a watcher becomes clearer. He may be forced to protect the stones, protect the children, or protect a path no one has walked before. Brianna, holding the prophecy that started it all, realizes she must make a choice that could either save her parents or separate them forever. There is no victory without sacrifice. Season 8's ending is shaped by these final decisions. A warning from the future can change everything, and Brianna's prophecy might be the one message that decides who lives, who dies, and which timeline survives. In Outlander Season 8, this single vision could hold the key to the entire story. But what did Brianna actually see? And why does it scare her more than anything she has faced before? Season 8 begins with every character standing at a crossroads. Brianna and Roger have fought a battle across time itself, chasing their son Jemmy after he was kidnapped by someone who should never have been able to time travel in the first place. The hunt pushed them to their limits, forcing Roger to confront the truth about his own ability to travel through the stones. It also showed Brianna that her family will never truly be safe as long as the past and future remain connected in dangerous ways. Meanwhile, Claire and Jamie's world has been shifting under their feet. The American colonies are becoming more unstable, and every day brings the war closer to their doorstep. Claire knows history far too well, and Jamie knows the cost of fighting for the wrong side. Their decisions in Season 7 place them in the middle of political chaos, torn between loyalty, survival, and the hope of a peaceful future. But peace is never easy for time travelers, not when their past mistakes can echo through generations. At the same time, Mandy's health and her rare ability to travel became a silent threat. The MacKenzie family realized that their children might inherit not only the gift to travel, but also the risks that come with it. Mandy's near-death moments reminded Brianna that time travel is not a miracle. It is a force that takes as much as it gives. And, as a mother, Brianna fears what the stones might demand from her family next. All of these events, Jemmy's rescue, Mandy's survival, Roger's transformation, and Claire and Jamie's struggle led to one powerful moment: Brianna's prophecy. A vision she cannot ignore. A warning that pushes her to make choices she never imagined. Something or someone is coming, and the danger is not just in one time, but in every timeline her family touches. Season 8 is the final chance to solve the mysteries left behind. The kidnappings, the visions, the dangerous travelers who move in the shadows. Everything is building toward an ending where the past and future collide. And Brianna's message is the first piece of the puzzle. Brianna never asked to be a time traveler, and she certainly never asked to see the future in flashes that feel too real to ignore. But in Season 8, her prophecy becomes the center of the storm of vision that pulls her deeper into the danger she tried so hard to escape. What makes this moment so powerful is not just what she sees, but the fear behind it. Brianna has lived through kidnappings, separations, and near-death moments. But this time, the warning is different. It's personal. It's terrifying. And it points to a threat bigger than anything her family has ever faced. Her prophecy begins as a brief, haunting image: something burning, something lost, something that should not exist in the time she comes from. At first, Brianna brushes it off as stress. She wants to believe it's nothing more than her mind reaching for control. But soon, the fragments connect into a clear message. Someone close to her family is in danger because of a future event that has already started to form in the past. The lines between timelines are bleeding together, and she is the only one who can see the warning before it becomes real. What makes Brianna's vision so important is that it does not behave like a normal time travel clue. It's not tied to the stones, nor to a physical jump through time. Instead, it feels like a ripple of disturbance caused by someone else's actions in another era. She senses that this prophecy is not about fate. It's about interference. Someone is changing history, and the effect is reaching into her life like a shadow stretching across time. Brianna begins to suspect that the threat is not random. It is targeted. Someone might be using time travel to reach the one she loves most. Her fear grows stronger when she realizes The prophecy connects directly to Claire and Jamie's timeline. The danger is not only in the future or the past, it moves freely between both. Brianna understands that if she ignores the message, she could lose everything. Her family has always survived because they stand together. But this prophecy forces her to face something she has never faced before. She may need to warn them across time. Without knowing how or when the danger will strike, this moment becomes the emotional anchor of Season 8. Brianna is no longer just reacting to time travel, she is stepping into a role she'd never expected. She becomes the protector of two eras, holding the knowledge that could decide whether her family endures or disappears from history. This prophecy becomes her burden and her power. And as Season 8 unfolds, the mystery behind her vision will push every character toward their final confrontation with time itself. Time. Travel has always been a puzzle in Outlander, but the MacKenzie family stands at the center of its strangest, most unpredictable secrets. With Roger, Brianna, Jemmy, and Mandy, the Stones behave in ways that even Claire and Jamie never fully understood. And in Season 8, this mystery becomes more important than ever, not because of where they can travel, but because of why their abilities are changing. The first clue lies with Jemmy. When he was kidnapped, something strange happened. His kidnapper managed to take him through the stones, even though he was not supposed to have the natural ability to do it. Roger and Brianna struggled for years to understand why their son could hear the stones hum stronger than any adult traveler they had met. But Season 8 hints at something deeper. Jamie isn't just gifted. He might be part of a generation of travelers whose connection to time is evolving, almost as if the stones themselves are responding to him. Jemmy doesn't just travel. He senses danger before it starts, like the timeline is whispering warnings only he can hear. Then there's Mandy, youngest MacKenzie, whose fragile health once depended entirely on reaching the future. She should have been the weakest link, but instead, she becomes a sign that time might favor children born between worlds. Mandy hears the stones too, maybe even louder than Jemmy. She reacts to certain moments as if she understands shifts in time instinctively, without being told what they mean. To Brianna and Roger, this is both a miracle and a threat. If their children can feel the timeline changing, they can also sense the danger Brianna's prophecy describes. But they're too young to control what they hear. Roger's transformation is just as important. Once unsure of his place in history, Season 8 shows him stepping fully into the role of a watcher, a guardian of timelines. Someone who understands that traveling is not only a gift but a responsibility. He begins to believe that the MacKenzies were meant to play a special role in keeping history on track. And if someone is trying to alter events from within the past or future, Roger realizes he may need to fight not with weapons, but with knowledge of time itself. What makes the MacKenzie mystery so powerful is how unpredictable it is. Every rule they thought they understood starts to bend. The stones hum at new moments. Old pathways open in ways they never did before. And the children, who should have been protected from all of this, become the key to understanding a timeline that is beginning to twist. Season 8 pushes the family into a race against an unseen enemy, someone using time travel for their own purpose. The MacKenzies become the only ones who can sense the warning early enough to act. Their abilities, once confusing and frightening, may be the last defense against a disaster Brianna's prophecy is trying to reveal. Claire and Jamie have survived battles, betrayals, and the weight of history itself, but Season 8 places them in a moment where their timeline feels more fragile than ever. While Brianna and Roger struggle with the mysteries of the stones, Claire and Jamie face dangers that grow not only from war, but from the consequences of choices made long before. It's as if the past around them is tightening, pulling them toward a future they cannot see, but can already feel pressing in. Their timeline begins to twist the moment the American Revolution reaches a boiling point. Claire knows what is coming: famine, disease, shifting alliances, and the brutal cost of a country tearing itself apart. Jamie, caught between loyalty to Scotland and a reluctant duty to his new home, senses the coming storm long before the first gunshot. What makes their situation unique is how the history Claire remembers collides with the reality unfolding in front of them. Some events match what she learned, but others drift off course. as if someone else is rewriting the path they're supposed to follow. This uncertainty becomes even more dangerous when small, unexplainable moments appear in their daily life. Claire notices patterns repeating that shouldn't repeat, conversations that feel oddly familiar, strangers who look at her too long, and hints of modern objects showing up in the wrong century. Jamie sees shadows of future conflict before he knows the cause. Neither of them recognizes these signs as timeline distortions, but the audience can sense they are connected to Brianna's prophecy. Something is crossing between eras, leaving traces in both worlds as their surroundings grow more unstable. Claire and Jamie face an emotional struggle few heroes ever confront, fighting a war they know might not be their true enemy. Their real danger may come from a traveler they have never met, someone who could be changing events far away from them, yet pushing their timeline toward disaster. Claire's medical instincts sharpen,